Hey, welcome back to this mini lecture. This one's on early learning challenges that you may be dealing with in your classrooms. Climb the mountain. Here's a broad contextual question for you to consider as you think about this video. Given that most, maybe all students have some kind of early challenge to their learning, that could be cognitive, something they're dealing with on a social basis. Maybe there's something with their economic background. Maybe they're dealing with something psychological. Maybe they're dealing with something personal at home or elsewhere. What role should teachers play in student lives? And I'll provide sort of two endpoints. Do you just teach curriculum, like that's all you're focused on is just purely the books? Or do you provide proactive, where you see something that might be coming down the road and you kind of address it early on, or reactive, so something happens and you deal with it after the fact? Personal support. Ultimately, try to figure out where you want to stand on the spectrum. Teacher inability. You may find, as you start to teach, that you may not be fully suited to support all student needs. This could be someone with special education needs that you just haven't been educated or have the experience on helping. The student may be dealing with domestic or personal abuse of some kind that you, again, do not know how to deal with. They may need literacy support, say if they're an ESL student and you're working with them and trying to teach them. Or if they need numeracy support. So say if you have another class, you're working with them and they just do not have the functional numeracy to be able to do the things that you need them to do, that can be really problematic. What are some results from all this, possible results? They could be, if it's in a very bad situation, is teacher attrition. So I did my master's thesis on the idea of why did teachers quit teaching, and that's a long answer to that. But I quit teaching to write a thesis on why teachers quit teaching, because not only do I like irony, I live irony. Individual versus broad issues. I'm going to give you sort of a polarity, a sort of a spectrum. A student can have deep individual issues, but there can also be broad thematic issues. And what do I mean by that? An individual can be very, very unique unto themselves, and they always are. But also in group thematically, they can have unique challenges based on the demographic that they're part of. Say, if, for example, wherever they're from, they have, they're from a low income situation and some of the challenges that can pose. And then ultimately from this, how do you teach unique individuals situated in a unique community? Like these things kind of, they intertwine, and it makes your challenge of teaching a little bit more complicated. Depths of challenges. It is incredibly difficult to know the depth and breadth of student challenges. For example, if you're working with some students, they may have an individual educational plan, an IEP, as I'm sure you'll hear. But that's not the full picture. For example, I worked in a thing called an emotional behavioral disorder school in the UK, where I had 80 boys, and they all had been expelled from 2 to 3 schools. And they were really great boys, but they were challenged in ways I did not quite understand. And even if I had every single IEP and I read them all, that still does not talk about, so say if that deals with, like, again, what you're dealing with them on their 6 hours or whatever a day in school, say it's from like 9 to 3 or something, you do not know what's going on in that other 18 hours a day. And ultimately, how do we know what to do in these situations? How do we know what we know, and how do we know what to do in these challenging situations? And finally, this all leads to this, a little bit of time and energy. There are so many problems and issues you'll be dealing with, but there's so few hours in a day. For example, I once met a K-8 vice principal. He was talking to rookie teachers about his coming up in the system. And he was up until midnight prepping and answering emails during his first year of practice. Like, he's basically up from like 6 in the morning till midnight. That is unsustainable for most. I'm really happy for the guy that he got through that. Basically what I'm saying is that this can be an all-consuming job, and difficult choices will need to be made. And what are those choices? What are the choices you're going to make? Try to consider those so that you don't burn out. That is early learning challenges. My name is Dino. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to comment on this video. What challenges do you expect to see happening? Are there things that you're working in a community with a particularly challenging demographic? What do you think some of the challenges might be with that? What opportunities might that help you with? Please feel free to like this video, and please feel free to subscribe to this channel if you want similar types of content. Take care.